I'm honestly getting a little sick of talking about the whole will they or won't they delay it argument, so for this week's video, I thought we'd do something a little more fun. As of right now, things are exactly the same with Halloween Kills anyway, and they have not delayed it just yet, but if you want to hear all my thoughts on what's going on behind the scenes, go check out Fandom Empire's channel. I'll link the live stream they had me on down in the description, but it was a ton of fun. Anyway, for today's video, we're going to be talking about every single character who's confirmed or heavily rumored to be coming back for Halloween Kills from both Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2018. The biggest reason I want to do this is because even though Halloween 2018 was a simplified and pared down sequel, especially when you compare it to the rest of the stuff we've gotten over the past 4 decades, Halloween Kills is really shaping up to be a bona fide ensemble film, and we all know those are notoriously hard to get right. So I thought it'd be fun if we cataloged every character who's coming back to really put this movie's scale into perspective. Like when I was writing the script for this video, I had to stop for a second and sort of collect how many characters I was actually going to talk about, and it turns out that number is 14. That's a lot for any movie to have come back in a sequel, but this is crazy because we're getting all of these characters from 1978 and even more from Halloween 2018. It's kind of nuts. Oh, and before you guys go down into the comments to yell at me, I purposely left out Aaron and Dana, the podcasters from Halloween 2018, because there's no way they're alive. I mean, we saw what Michael did to the guy working the garage who was just coming to work that day thinking about going home and playing Warzone with his kid. He's gonna do the whole meme, are you winning, son? But no, Michael Myers put his head on the side of a table and stomped the bottom of his jaw off. So yeah, there's no way that Aaron lived through whatever Michael did to him. If he killed him, it happened off screen. So we're just in the first spot, we have none other than Laurie Strode, who managed to survive not 1, but 2 direct encounters with Michael Myers, despite the fact that the original plan in Halloween 2018 was rumored to make the ending much less explicit as to whether or not she would bleed out in the back of the pickup truck that rescues her, Karen, and Allyson. But after David Gordon Green got the band back together and reshot the vast majority of the ending, they altered it so there would be no doubt that Laurie Strode survived. And instead of the shape being shot with a crossbow by Karen and beat down by Laurie on the front lawn of her house, before sitting on a tree stump in the movie cutting off before we saw anything definitive, Karen shoots him in the face with a rifle and Laurie burns her whole house down on top of him while he's trapped in the basement. But in both endings, Laurie's injuries are about the same, and to say that she took a beating from the shape would be a massive, absolutely huge understatement. So knowing that, and from some pictures we've seen posted on official Halloween outlets, I think we can safely assume that Laurie's going to be spending a lot, if not all, of Halloween Kills in the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. And honestly, I would be surprised if she even has a direct encounter with him at all, because by having Laurie incapacitated for the middle movie, that gives all of the other characters room to breathe and be reintroduced and have their own moments in the spotlight before the big team up in Halloween ends. Either way, with so much of the marketing focusing on Laurie Strode, I think we'll have a lot of screen time with her, but she'll most likely be running the show from a hospital bed like a beefed up version of her character in Halloween 2. Next up, we have Michael Myers, aka The Shape. We just went over what happened to him in Halloween 2018, but based on the teaser we got last Halloween, it's clear that somehow he's going to escape Laurie's basement at the beginning of the movie and continue his Halloween night rampage through the streets of Haddonfield. The Shape we got in Halloween 2018 was established to not really care about Laurie as much as we thought he would, staying true to the whole idea of removing that dumb sister plotline that was introduced in Halloween 2. So knowing that, I think he'll just go back to what he was doing before Sartain, Hawkins, and Allyson ran him over with Hawkins' SUV and Sartain delivered him right to Laurie's doorstep. Basically, I think he's going to head back into Haddonfield and kill whoever is unlucky enough to cross his path, but with the caveat that some of the other returning characters will be actively hunting him down. We really don't know what Allyson's motivations are going to be in Halloween Kills at this point, but since the only person in her friend group who's still alive is her ex, maybe current boyfriend Cameron Elam, she's most likely going to leave the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital pretty early on and go out looking for him. There was a deleted scene that showed more of the fight she has with Cameron after he throws her phone in the bowl of edible goo. I think it was like nacho cheese or pudding or something, and it ended with him being arrested by the Haddonfield police. So naturally, I think that's a clue as to where he'll be at the beginning of the movie at least. I'm hoping that Allyson's character is a little more fleshed out this time around, because in the first movie, she's a little bit of a blank slate great thanks to Laurie being the main focus, but since Laurie is most likely spending the movie in the hospital, Allyson should definitely get more time in the spotlight. Like her daughter Allyson and her mom Laurie, Karen is most likely going to start Halloween Kills in the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, unless she does jump out of the back of that pickup truck on the freeway, which I would not recommend. I also think that once she's made sure her mom is okay and getting the care she needs for her injuries, she'll realize that Allyson is gone and looking for Cameron, and then of course she'll follow. I'm almost positive she'll eventually team up with the townspeople to hunt down Michael, and I'm wondering if they'll have a sort of showdown since she tricked him in 2018 and shot him in the face. A lot of people aren't the biggest fan of Karen for some reason and want her to get the axe in Halloween Kills, but I think she's a great character and Judy Greer does an awesome job in the role. I think there are also going to be plenty of opportunities for her to reconcile with her mom because, as we all know, that's something which really doesn't happen in 2018. And that brings us to our first rumored character, who's basically confirmed at this point, but it's Sheriff Hawkins. We first learned that he would potentially be coming back during the Halloween 2018 watch-along when a fan said they wished Hawkins survived, and David Gordon Green responded by saying, "Oh, do you?" And interestingly enough, this is a rumor that I had heard prior to that from someone who was at the Halloween test screening, so it was a pretty exciting confirmation for me. A lot of people were wondering how exactly he could have survived being stabbed in the neck and then run over by Sartain in his own damn SUV, and I'm honestly in the same boat. But for those of you who are imagining yourselves having trouble suspending your disbelief that much, I think he could also show up during the flashback scene we've known about for almost a year. See, there was initially going to be a scene in Halloween 2018 where Hawkins came and arrested Michael after Loomis shot him 6 times in 1978, and now that we know there's going to be a flashback to the first movie, David Gordon Green could have opted to film that moment. I'm not 100% convinced that's the case though, because the reason it wasn't filmed was that John Carpenter actually told Green not to do it, so I don't think he'd be too keen on angering the guy who made this whole thing happen in the first place, but you never know. The two most surprising and I guess contentious returning characters for me are Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace. They of course are the two kids who Laurie ends up protecting from Michael all the way back in 1978, and I was worried about it feeling a little tacky having them come back in the second movie rather than the first, but I'm okay with it now. Between the two of them, I'm more excited to see what Hall's going to bring to the table as Tommy, because when I was a kid and I watched Halloween way too young, I empathized with him way more than Lindsay because I'm a guy and he was the same age as me. From the small glimpses we've gotten of them in the teaser, it looks like they stuck around in Haddonfield, and it also seems like they're going to be more than happy to hunt down Michael thanks to this picture of them and our next returning character. Marion Chambers, played by Nancy Stevens, is a character who shares a trait with Laurie Strode, which is that she reprised her role in H2O for her first comeback. From the brief glimpses we've had of her so far, it looks like she's going to be an employee at the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital who hears about Michael's ongoing rampage and reconnects with Laurie Strode once she gets there at the beginning of the movie. From the shot we have of her, Tommy, and Lindsay all together at the local bar, it looks like she's going to join the townspeople who are going out to hunt Michael down later in the movie, and that's pretty exciting to me. I loved her in the intro to H2O, and I always thought it was kind of dumb that they made the decision to kill her character off, so hopefully this time around David Gordon Green can get it right. Next up here we have one of my favorite returning characters, who is Sheriff Lee Brackett, and he's still being played by Charles Cyphers. Now we don't know how big of a role he's actually going to have in the movie, but because he's so old at this point, I'm assuming it'll just be a quick cameo, and from the one picture we have of the character so far, it looks like he's just going to be a security guard at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, which makes sense because he wasn't a cop during Halloween 2018. Either way, I'm super excited to have him back. Cameron is an interesting returning character to me because my perception of him at this point is that he's a huge douchebag. But David Gordon Green said back when Halloween 2018 came out that he left him alive for a reason and he had plans for the character going forward. I really like the actor who plays Cameron, and while I'm kind of sure that he's going to die in Halloween Kills, I hope he gets a chance to redeem himself a bit and maybe suck up to Allyson enough that she takes him back. After being the butt of one of Ray's jokes in Halloween 2018, Lonnie Elam is back in Halloween Kills. And between his appearance in the flashback I just mentioned and the fact that he's also going to show up as an adult, I think he's going to be a much bigger character than he was in the first movie. I also think there is a lot to explore with him, like how encountering Michael Myers in 1978 affected him and maybe even played into the way he treats his kid Cameron. And seeing him and Tommy interact with each other after over 40 years should be a pretty cool moment, since Tommy grew up to be an awesome baseball bat wielding dude. It's a Halloween movie and a lot of people gotta die, so if you give me the choice between Tommy, Lindsay, or Lonnie, I think it's going to 100% be Lonnie, since that'll be a character defining moment for his kid Cameron. I saved the biggest character for one of the last few spots, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush, it's Dr. Samuel Loomis. When we first first heard about that flashback last year, my first question was, how are they going to handle the Loomis situation? It's kind of a catch-22 because if you're going through the trouble to recreate a part of the first movie we never saw, not having the coolest character in the franchise other than the shape would feel weird. But since Donald Pleasance has been dead for a long time now, that means CGI touch-ups or reusing old footage would be required for it to happen. And it seems like they opted to take the risk and bring Loomis back, as there have been quite a few rumors popping up on a ton of different websites about it. I just hope whoever plays Loomis looks the part, and whoever they get to do the voiceover sounds as good as the actor who mimicked him in Halloween 2018. Second to last on the list, we have Julian, who's that kid Vicky was babysitting when Michael broke in and murdered both her and her boyfriend Dave. Yeah, he is definitely scarred for life. Ask anyone who's seen the movie what their least favorite part of it was, and 9 times out of 10, I bet you they'll say Julian. So I could see him only being in a quick scene or two, hanging out at the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital or with a police officer or something. I don't think he's gonna have as much screen time as he did last time around. I thought he was hilarious, and I'm more than happy to have a little levity in my horror movies, but I can also see why a lot of people thought his jokes were a bit much, so I'm curious to see how they'll actually incorporate him in the final product. And now we're at the very last returning characters on the list, who are the couple dressed as a doctor and a nurse we saw in Halloween 2018 for all of 3 seconds. I really debated putting them on this list, but because the teaser from last October shows that woman aiming a gun at Michael, I felt like I had to talk about them at least a little bit. A bunch of people assumed that they were Julian's parents, but that was quickly debunked, and nobody really knows much more than that. I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that they'll end up as 2 of Michael's first victims in the movie, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens whenever it actually makes its way into theaters. Like, let's be real here, I don't think that gun's gonna do anything against him because he took quite a few shots in Halloween 2018. And with that, we have every single character returning from Halloween 1978 and Halloween Kills. It does seem like we know all of them at this point, but I'm hoping that David Gordon Green and the team at Blumhouse have a few more up their sleeve that we don't know about yet, because at this point, the movie could be 2 years away. So hopefully there are some surprises left in store, or else I'm gonna have to think of a new topic for my YouTube channel. Definitely go down in the comments and let me know which characters you're excited to see come back, and when you subscribe, it would really help me out if you hit the all button when you turn on the notification bell. Anyway guys, my name is Jimmy Champane, and I'll see you in the next one. Shape on.